We're going to widen the lens a little bit on the district energy for sustainable cities. We've assembled a panel really with some global experience. It's my pleasure to introduce, to my immediate left, let me just introduce the panel and then a warm round of applause. Our first guest is Khalid Al-Marzouki. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Tabreed in the UAE. Welcome, Khalid. Thank you. Thank you. To his left, Ahmad bin Shafar, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Empower in Dubai. So we've got the United Arab Emirates on this end of the panel. Two great leaders and a lot of talent. To Ahmad's left, our good friend Joan Kowal, who will be the chair of IDEA if the vote goes her way tomorrow. Congratulations. Vote early, vote often for Joan. Joan is the client manager, energy of power for the Americas for Jacobs. Welcome, Joan. Thank you. To her left is my good friend Werner Luch. Werner makes his home in Frankfurt, Germany. He's my counterpart and is the CEO of AGFW, which is the Association for District Heating, District Cooling, Cogeneration in Germany. And I learned something recently from Werner. They now have over 700 operating systems in Germany. Wow. So listen to what he has to say. Welcome, Werner. To his left, my good friend Hilda Cristina Mariaca Orozco, otherwise known as Cristina. Joining us from Colombia, she was our gracious host last year. She held the first Latin America District Cooling Conference in where were we in Colombia? What was the city?
Cartagena.
Cartagena, thank you.
Okay, you can forget it. Please. No. It's Cartagena.
Cartagena, thank you. Welcome, Christina. She's a familiar face here at IDEA. And finally, our good friend Gabriel Peche, who is the Innovation and Sustainable Finance Director for our counterpart. He's based in Belgium with Euro Heat and Power. Welcome, Gabriel. Thank you. Let's give them a nice round of applause. Welcome our panel. So as I mentioned, we're going to really kind of widen the lens a bit from North America to the globe. I'm going to start with Christina. Christina, you've been working at the Ministry of Environment in Colombia, yes? Really trying to move the needle on district energy. And how would you describe the opportunities for our industry in Colombia and perhaps Latin America at large? Is there opportunity for district energy to make a difference in Latin America?
Okay, good morning, everybody. First one, thank you very much to IDEA for the support last year in the conference Latin America. Hamad, shukran from the heart. And Johnson Controls and Carlisle, because was very successfully event in Cartagena. And in order to answer about the opportunities, I must to say, right now in Latin America, we are thinking district energy are possible. So this is very important because all time we are thinking it's a NASA technology, maybe, but not. We had last year 16 countries from Latin America. And all of them, they say, okay, we can do that. We can have this kind of infrastructure here in our countries. In this moment, for example, in Colombia, we have a medium strong policies in order to promote district energy. We had the first technical regulation about how to use thermal energy. This is very important because in Latin America, when we talk at institutional level about energy, everyone thinks in electricity. Right. But now, this is changing. Right now, people are thinking in thermal energy for end users. So this is changing the mind of end users, utilities, financial actors, academic actors, etc. So we are creating an enabled context in the institutional way, in the knowledge way, Another very important thing is, for example, we have in this moment in Colombia, and we can export that. We are an example for our broader countries. We have labor certification for technicians and professionals, etc. So we establish a network of knowledge for, about district energy. And one thing I would like to add is in the technical regulation, we had only one, not only one, but one chapter only talking about district energy. So this is very, very important, and the context is very favorable to have for district energy industry. And we have the same challenge that had all the countries in the world. We are facing a climate crisis. We have to introduce energy transition program, and we are thinking all the time in quality and security service for energy. So all the ingredients are in Latin America, and I think this is starting to cooking something in the market. So I am very glad to invite you or invite all the district energy industry to look at Latin America, because we are ready to start in this market.
Well, thanks, Christina. I mean, it's so important, the paradigm shift, the awareness of thermal energy, that, you know, energy policy is not just electricity policy. Thank you. So, Werner, in Germany recently, the federal government has put in place legislation that now requires, is it cities and towns, a population over 20,000 inhabitants? So cities in Germany that have a population greater than 20,000 must implement a heat plan. Werner, tell us two things on that. Is it really helping the industry grow, and how do you support that sort of big wave of momentum?
Well, thanks a lot for this question, Robert. First of all, I must say that this is the result, it's our result, many years of work with our government on one hand, and the result of the Green Deal we all are talking about in Europe. So now coming to the cities and to your question, do they have the resources? Well, I would say yes, if they have something like a municipality, a company mostly owned by the city, running one or more power plants and dealing with, in Germany, this is the case, electricity, gas, and district heating. But we found out that this will not be enough. So a couple of months ago, we started to develop a practical guide for heating planning. And I will talk about this tomorrow in a session. But I think it's necessary to give them a helpful hand to do this planning in all these cities, starting with 20,000 people. We have a lot of this in Germany.
Right. Good.
And so what you're saying, Werner, is that you actually have the recipe for how to sort of bake the cake, right? Because the policies are now requiring you set the table and really, you know, deliver.
Yep.
Gabrielle, in your role at Euroheat and Power, Werner mentioned the Green New Deal, right? So it really is occurring now. The energy transition is manifest in many ways in Europe. So how is Euroheat and Power sort of enabling, coupling, sort of helping to drive industry growth?
Yeah. So thank you, Rob, also for inviting me, and also to give me an excuse to escape from the very rainy and cloudy Brussels. So it's great to be here. Yes, we honestly, we had a great, I would say, moment in terms of policy, the last Commission mandate, where also Werner mentioned the Green Deal and the Fit for 55 package gave a great boost for the energy transition and also for the district energy sector. And to be honest, we can, I'll say, claim a quite good achievement on our side, thanks for all the effort and the industry effort we had, where we got some great success, in particular for a very specific directive. I won't go into detail, not to so make people bored, but you know, I would like to mention, for example, the Energy Efficiency Directive, where we have some clear path to have a decarbonized district energy industry in Europe, basically starting from 2028 until 2050, with some reduction of the use of fossil fuel and increasing share of renewable and waste heat. We aim to have a totally decarbonized district energy and a new definition of efficient network. And this definition will be pivotal to basically define what is green and what is not green for district energy. Beyond, we have also the new cast of the Renewable Energy Directive, where we have basically some obligation, for example, for the waste heat data center, we have to consider waste heat recovery above 1 megawatt. Then we have the new European Performance Building Directive, where you can define basically a net zero building, a building that is connected to an efficient district heating network. Then we have, for example, the obligation for municipalities above 45,000 inhabitants to do heat planning. So I just mentioned a couple of examples. So it's clear how basically on the policy side, we're having a great momentum. We hope with a new mandate, basically, I probably assume that many of you know that we had recently the European election. Basically, we are waiting for the new commission, and we hope, even though we have quite, I'll say, a switch to a more like right-winged side of the political spectrum, we hope that this momentum will continue. We're gonna do our best to maintain this momentum, to maintain the hype, because of course, I would say beyond the political views, climate change is happening, so district energy can have a big role in this. So I hope the next commission will still acknowledge this role of district energy.
Well, Gabriele, I'm so glad you're here because, you know, I think the takeaway is that, you know, in Europe, I think frankly they're ahead of us in North America, and so there's a lot that we can learn and take from the experience that they're bringing forward from a policy perspective. Because as Christina said, electricity is not energy policy. In Europe, over 50% of primary energy demand is for heating and cooling buildings. So thank you, Gabriele. I'm going to come back to you on that. Now, but Joan, here in North America, right, we are seeing some policy headwinds on natural gas, right? I forgot who, Carlisle mentioned that, you know, the regulator said no more connection, so we have that. And then the electric utilities, we heard from Attila, are growing because of all of this sort of, you know, new demand. Are we, so my question is right here, and I can't read it. So are we seeing this convergence of sort of policy, state and public utility? And is there an opportunity for district energy in the terms of, you know, thermal energy networks? Is that really something that we as an industry need to embrace? Opportunity, challenge, both. Joan, in North America?
So I think you heard, well, first, thank you for having me on the panel. Appreciate giving the America's perspective. But you heard from the first panel really the robust perspective, and they covered it very well. We have the technologies, and now we really have to get out there and do the education and make sure our regulators and policymakers are making strategic decisions. And I think sometimes, you know, you've heard everyone, Con Ed, what was it, 150 years? It's taken us a long time to get the model right, and they want to try to do it in a 2 or 4 year term. Yeah. And so we really have to get in front of it and make sure they are making educated decisions. I think they do think they're benefiting us
Right.
by putting in these broad sweeping, whether it's mandates not to do this or mandates to add thermal energy networks. And yes, as a district energy, we are thermal energy networks. I mean, you know, we look at their terms and they do a great job of marketing and saying, oh, it's new. Well, it's not new. We've been doing thermal energy networks for a long time. And so I do think, and as we've been talking about our strategic plan going forward, we all get it. Everyone in this room supports it, understands it. It's the people outside of this room we now need to start educating, bringing to the conversation, making sure we're setting ourselves up for future success. And I don't think it's, you know, I was very surprised when I heard Carlisle say that, you know, they were going to make them pay all the upfront connections. Yeah, I mean, that's extreme, right? I mean, it's very extreme. It's going to lead to the wrong economic models. We need to make sure they understand how all the successful district energy operators in this room have gotten there, and make sure we set up regulatory policies for that. So yes, definitely opportunities for us to get out there. And I caught Lisa and Christina right as we came off, and I said, you guys have to do a road show on Capitol Hill. Like, you need to take the first panel, bring it up, and let them, you know, let them speak to some of the regulators. So.
Good point. Good idea. Like a fly-in. I think that would be useful. But I do think, you know, with this recognition of thermal energy networks, right? There is sort. I don't know. I'm old now. Well, I'm not old now. I've been old for a long time. But do you guys remember the pork, the new white meat? Do you remember that thing? Right? It was like thermal energy, right? The other side. It's really a bad phrase. I'm sorry. But so really, the recognition that thermal energy, and Ahmad, in Dubai, right? 70% of the electricity is used for air conditioning. And so that's a huge drain. So how has district cooling really kind of fit in the mix in Dubai, which is, and Abu Dhabi, Khalid, I'm going to come to you on this. How is district cooling really sort of this pivot point that helps the electric industry support the economic development that you've seen in Dubai?
First of all, good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be in this panel. Definitely, Dubai or the Middle East, the air conditioning system, it's a necessity. It's not a luxury. We cannot live without it. And this is very important to understand that the major consumption of electricity goes to the air conditioner, as Rob said. 70% of the electricity consumption of each individual bill goes to the air conditioning. Therefore, the government has conducted a study through the electricity company. For example, in Dubai, Dubai Water and Authority company has conducted a study that was like 22 years ago to find out with the huge growth coming up into the city of Dubai, we require to reduce building the plant rooms or the substation of power generation, and to be more optimized and efficient. And there way, only one way to do it, to use a district cooling. In the district cooling, it's saving around close to 50% for the consumption, 40% on the government. We have saved around, since the inception of Empower, 1,400 megawatt of electricity for city of Dubai.
Oh.
Over 20 years, over 2 decades.
Great.
This is very important to understand. And DUA is also one of the major shareholder in Empower. They are a shareholder with a percent of 56% of Empower after the IPO. So basically, they are partner on our success story. And it's very important to the city to understand that what we are doing here, it's a national interest. We are creating a career path and developments for a new job. We convert the concept of district cooling from B2B to B2C, where we are building the consumers, we're educating the community. I remember 15 years ago when I was trying to go and penetrate some market, it was like It's very difficult. People, they don't understand district cooling. These days, everybody is understanding what's district cooling and what's the benefit of district cooling.
We've made some progress, I think.
Huge progress.
Yes, yes. And so, I think there is now awareness. Ahmad, you were gracious enough to host us for the COP28 meeting, right? So the UN Conference of the Parties was in Dubai in December. Empower hosted myself, Carlisle, Steve Swinson. We had a global district cooling summit. Khalid, you were there. You were a participant in the summit. At that time, I think Tabreed had just announced, get this, a geo-exchange system serving Masdar City, or a portion of Masdar City in Abu Dhabi, using the heat from the ground to drive an absorption chilling unit to cool a portion of Masdar City. I don't want to just focus on that too much, but Khalid, how has Tabreed how are you advancing the needle to support a lower carbon, a more sustainable city? Is Masdar City an example of what's possible?
First of all, thank you for having us. Really honored to be here on this panel. I'll refer maybe to the first panel when they said there's a passion. So, the people come from different walks of life who actually were in the first panel, so they were saying, okay, I come from a very strong oil and gas, but there is a passion for decarbonization and reducing on the carbon footprint in line with the whole world, actually. I think COP28, UAE showed its seriousness about this one and hosted COP28, and of course the Paris Accord. So what we say, we look at the district cooling, as my colleague Mr. Ahmed said, 70%. First panel, New York is saying we're reaching 50, 70. We're already there, 70 and beyond. So the next step is try to it's a proven technology. So what we did is, okay, we said, fine, let's take this passion and try something else rather than mechanical chillers. So we tapped into geothermal, which are the assets available within the region. Basically, it's not hot rock like they have in New Zealand. What we have there is warm water. And it's a very strong oil and gas country, so basically drilling equipment and basically digging holes in the ground is something we're not unfamiliar with. We've been doing it for the last 60 years now. And the concept actually was proven. The plant is doing great. It's about 500 to 700 tons. It's running at efficiency very close to 0.55. That's beyond, let's say, it's the best thing we can get out of our district cooling is about 8.8 kilowatts, 0.85 kilowatts. This is driving it at very 0.55. That's without even using any heat pumps on it. So you can see if the potential of the geothermal to augment or to help in, so Masdar City, basically, it's the green city of UAE. It's all about renewables. So the idea is to, what we have back in UAE is the electricity is subsidized, but that's not a sustainable subsidy. It will wear off one of these days. Digging holes and let's say geothermal would be the best sustainable subsidy that we could have. Winds are not very prevalent there, and so you can't go with wind power. Photovoltaics are very good.
Yes.
However, we are handicapped by high temperatures. So even our PVs, despite that we're having sun 650 days of 365 days a year, it's too hot that basically it's not like the Mediterranean. You don't get that efficiency you get from photovoltaics. So addressing the 70%, which is the low-hanging fruit, with the geothermal is a big chunk of the sustainability we look for. We have many sites been identified, and I think in the region there's a big appetite for it, mainly our neighboring country, Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Yes, these guys are humongous when it comes to power consumption and district cooling, and Saudi is one of the hottest places on earth, and they do have very good formations for geothermal cooling.
So the energy under our feet is really a possibility. And thank you, Khalid. And so when we think about, the opportunity to reduce emissions, right, and at a city scale, and really, kind of cut carbon emissions, heating and cooling of buildings, I think, accounts for nearly 30% of global emissions, right? So if we do that smarter, if we do it communities, a cluster, a city at a time. Can we get there faster? So is district energy really the opportunity where there is density to move the needle more quickly? Anyone?
Rob, you may want
Yes.
may want to correct that. It's 37% now.
37%. Yeah.
And it's higher in
Oh, it is. Yes.
Yeah. It's higher in Middle East and Europe because of the density,
right.
and the climate difference. So just want to correct you on that.
No, very good. Yes. Christina.
I think it's a very important driver to gas emissions reduction. In the Latin American case, I think we have this need to reduce emission. But I think maybe we don't have a lot of experience. The business model of district energy, it's important to establish the knowledge about this economic and commercial model.
Right.
And then maybe we can have different or new rules in the energy market. So it's not only a driver for sustainable city, but it's a driver to think in another way in the business model of energy. For example, we are in Colombia, we need to change some of this market of electricity because it's a barrier to develop new models in district energy. So it's not only for sustainable cities, it's a new model of thinking about commercial models.
So to add, what you're saying is it isn't just a technology matter. It's really about how do you aggregate these technologies into a sustainable business model, right? So that not only does the investment sort of pay off over time, but economically it thrives. Werner, and then Ahmed?
Well, I would say, of course, district heating and district cooling, I think, are factors in this. And if I look into our country, we want to run power plants in the future as just as CHP plants because they are the most efficient solution we have. Today, we run these power plants, even in Europe, still on coal or gas. But in the future, these plants will run, hopefully, with gas and hydrogen. If we know where to get hydrogen from. And if we have enough hydrogen for this.
Yes.
But this is the discussion we have in Europe, and we have it in Germany too.
So the hydrogen would go into the natural gas pipeline, or
in a
directly
hydrogen pipeline.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. Gabriel, did you want to add some?
Yeah, I would like just to mention the Hanover example. There they have like a phase out. I would say phase out program to be decarbonized, and for example, they want to switch the old coal-based power plant in an electrolysis plant. So this is still hydrogen popping up everywhere. But anyway, I don't want to speak about hydrogen because we're gonna do it in a wild jungle here, so it's better not to go there. But in terms of existing and very effective infrastructure, district heating is still a reliable and very green, potentially green infrastructure, and in particular for city. One thing, for example, for the emission, looking at just the emission, buildings account for 65% in Europe. And basically, we see how district heating can really have a role here. Of course, we need a supportive policy framework for cities and support city to have a concrete and qualitative heat plan, because they can be obliged to have a heat planning, but if the heat planning are just for the sake of doing planning and not like the quality, for example, you need to look at the really feasible, in particular economical feasible option you have in a certain area where you have to harvest the low-grade heat. It's important to, I would say, educate municipalities and public officers where to find the right heat sources and the most effective and the most, I would say, efficient in this way. So we really, I would say, call for a supportive scheme, not just in terms of regulatory aspects, but also in terms of technical aspect to support public authority to develop qualitative heat planning. This is very important for us.
So qualitative, so it would be, you could implement it, right? You could fund it.
Exactly.
And it would have a revenue stream to support it.
Not just a copy-paste of like what my neighbor town is doing and just copy that, because of course each town has different potentials. So yeah, of course.
So creating a sincere effort at understanding the opportunities on a local level. Ahmad, I wanted to go to you because I think you've lived this, right? You know, Dubai, the growth is really unbelievable, but you've had to navigate that and still deliver both reliable, secure energy with a sustainable economic model. What are the secrets to that? How do you balance that? How do you make sure your capital, you know, you're not over your skis with too much capacity investment while the market is still growing?
This is a secret, I'm not going to tell you, but I'll tell you part of it. Because I have my competitor on my right-hand side. I think it's very simple. First of all, the policymaker. Government of Dubai have set a goal for us through Dubai Supreme Energy Council, and they put a target to reach 40% of the city by 2030, that we have to have a district cooling at 40% of the city, with the aim goal in 2050 that we become 70%.
Wow.
This is a huge goal. Frankly speaking, that's make us working hard. Now, at current situation, we are around 24% from that goal.
Wow.
So we still have 6% toward 2030, and we'll try to do. But the policymaker, it's really helping us how to move with the industry. This is one. Number two, we're really concerned about the investment, any investment in infrastructure project across the world, not only in Dubai or in the Middle East or in Asia or in America. It has a return. And the return depends on the way how do you build it. Is it upgradable, accepting to the transforming and changing? With the latest technology, I think we should be understanding the IEA is coming. There is a lot of changes. Our phones change. Our car changes. I remember 15 years ago when we come here, there is no Tesla car.
Yes.
There is no electrical car. Just go outside and look. Things is changing. So basically, that was one of my discussion with one of the manufacturers. Told them, guys, I'm not happy with 0.6 production of the AC and efficiency. I need to go to 0.2, 0.3. Why not? Why not? Let's be partner in R&Ds. We are willing to invest on it. So basically, I strongly believe that the future of the industry will be bright. And we will have a big chance to grow. And this business will continue. Because, for example, in Middle East, it's not only in the UAE, it's spread in Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Oman and everywhere. Kuwait now is starting district cooling. I'm supposed to be in Kuwait next week or the week after. People are getting educated and you know, they are growing. So basically, this business will continue for years ahead in our part. Also, we are working with a program, with the UN, with a UNIP program for India, Pakistan, Tunisia, and Morocco. They are also thinking heavily on district cooling.
Yes.
So basically, let's think of it. Is it a good investment? Yes, it is. When we IPO Empower last year, we went out to the market and we managed to get 49 multiple of our capital. So that's mean there is a huge demand on it globally. It's not only in the UAE. Most of our investors, I would say 40 or 60% of them from the international market, from the US market, from the European market, from the Middle East market, 40% maybe from the UAE. But that's really trigger and show you that it's a real good investment.
So let's stay on this for a moment, because I think this is important. So municipalities in Germany, for instance, are being told, figure out how to use thermal energy. But they don't always have the maybe the experience capacity, maybe they don't know what they don't know. So is there an opportunity for IDEA members, and Joan, I'm going to come to you, and then I want to go to Khalid. Joan, I'm going to come to you. Like, how important is partnering? Jacobs is a global engineering firm. You have expertise really that covers the map, right? And how important is it to really kind of step up as a partner to make good policy drive good projects?
No, it's a great point, Rob. I mean, I think we all, no matter what our focus is, partnerships is how we're going to get it done, right? We've heard technology, again, we have the companies out there, we have the thought and R&D driving that, but the real challenge has been how to make these projects work out economically, how do we get them funded, how do we help the municipals and the regulators support that model. So absolutely, partnership is key. One of the things we do, and a part of this conference, right, is for us to be talking to potential partners. And the potential partners we had a decade ago or even 5 years ago look completely different. I mean, we're talking to investors, right, infrastructure funds, financial advisors. It goes way beyond technical, and I think that's part of the evolution of IDEA. We were somewhat centered on technical for a long time, and now, as I spoke last night, it's the diversity of bringing in all those other members and schools of thought, and they need to be part of the conversation.
And it's really a whole value chain, right? Ahmad mentioned the suppliers, the equipment providers, right? The technologies that you integrate. But Khalid, Tabreed, you really have been an engine for change, right, in this sector for nearly 30 years. I want to pivot to extreme weather, and really allow you to respond on this. In Dubai in April, you had a year's worth of rain in one day. Yes. And so, how, as an industry, are we really kind of not just a sustainable city, but a resilient city? And do we need to be integrating various technologies at a system level so that you're delivering a resilient service as well? How important is that? Are your customers kind of asking you to really kind of weave together, the carbon fiber of a good infrastructure? Do you feel is that your opportunity?
It is, actually. We just conducted a customer survey, and we were a bit surprised of some of the answers we got. They said, we don't see where is that efficiency in the company. So what we advocate for within the company, it's not transcendent to our customers in a way. So right, I guess we have to work much harder on that front. What we do, we show that we are a big part of the solution. Now, during the last, I call it a rain flood that we had, we showed how district cooling companies were so resilient by resuming production immediately. Right. We have both the companies, actually, us and Empower, have a very strong disaster recovery systems there. So all of them, they're basically, the only problem we had is our customer didn't have power in order to consume what we were producing. So that resiliency showed over how robust and efficient and trouble-free district cooling providers are.
And what's also kind of crossed my mind. So not only did Dubai experience this, recently Canada imported more power from the U.S. So usually the kilowatts are flowing from Niagara Falls, as John Gray would say, to the U.S. But really, climate factors, water shortages, hydropower isn't really the base load that we've had and experienced for the last 100 years. So how do district energy companies evolve to integrate technologies? Should we be advocating for a more hybrid future where we're not limiting ourselves to single technologies? I know that's a loaded question, but how as an industry do we become the convergence to enable cities to thrive during extreme weather conditions, which we know are happening. Anyone have a thought on that? Oh. Yes, Joan, please.
Sure. No, I mean, I think it has to be, right? It has to be multiple technologies. I mean, I think putting all your eggs in one basket does not cover the resilience solution everyone's looking for. And to stay flexible and as emerging technologies, we've mentioned hydrogen. I mean, I think hydrogen will be viable. We're currently a program manager for one of the hydrogen hubs that was awarded by the DOE out in California. And it's the start of developing that model of how will we distribute hydrogen, how can we use it economically. Microreactors, the Defense Innovation Unit for the Army has issued a solicitation to put in microreactors at their bases. I mean, it's not one solution. It's probably solutions we haven't even touched on yet, but it's exciting. And I think we all understand here, no matter where we're located geographically, we might not all have the same solutions, but it's going to be a multitude of solutions.
Well, Ahmad mentioned, 15 years ago there weren't electric cars. That was the George Jetsons of the future. Gabrielle, you had a thought on this? Thanks, Joan.
Yeah, I much agree with John. I think one thing is like investment diversification. It's the key to lower the risk. Also, exactly the same for extreme weather risk and resilience for energy infrastructure. And here again, district heating can give a great example because, of course, district heating is the only energy infrastructure that is flexible and diversified. Substantially, so it's the only one that can integrate at the same time different energy carrier and sources. So this is the risk to rely just on one energy carrier. For example, this big hype on electrification, that it's positive anyway, of course. But if we invest in terms of policy and innovation just on power, of course, we are increasing the risk to not be resilient in the long term. So district heating for cities in particular can really lower the risk in, say, integrate with the power grid, of course, but also to make use of different energy sources that are domestic and local, without importing gas or, I would say, hydropower or power from countries that are more keen on having extreme weather. Of course, extreme weather can happen everywhere, also in Europe. But for example, if we rely on a country that creates power just from hydropower, and in that country we're having a drought, probably we're going to have a shortage in another country that not experience this shortage. So at the same time, so for example, heating can come from geothermal or waste heat industry that are not so exposed to extreme weather, for example. So I just want to give this, I would say, this example as district heating, the diversification of district heating is really, really a good example for in this sense.
So, Gabrielle, sort of flexible and adaptable, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you. Werner, a thought?
Yeah, it's also my opinion that we have to have a diverse set of capacity assets, and that's very important. And I still rely, or will have to rely still on CHP plants at the moment.
Yes.
But in our cities, we are focusing also on thermal solar plants, and also where it's possible, we also focus on deep geothermal plants. And of course, large heat pumps if there is enough electrical power.
So having a diverse set of, sort of a bigger toolkit really is important. My phone just told me we only have a couple of minutes left, which is remarkable to me. I used up too much of it here. But I do want to, I'd like to allow you to sort of share a closing thought. So it's now 2024. 2030 is like a minute away, right?
It's nothing close. Next year.
So 2030 is sort of a pivot point for many cities, right? They've been aspirational. Then 2050 is sort of this other milestone. What will district energy look like? I'm going to put the pivot out to 2050. Christina, what will district energy look like in Latin America in 2050?
Okay, I think the most is a strategy for real estate, for example, and industry. Maybe we don't have, in 2050, all the regulation will not be ready, but the knowledge will be, and the business model will be introduced in Latin America. I would like to add in the last question, do you remember in Cartagena, Puerto Rico shows the district energy case in a hospital in Puerto Rico when the hurricane passed was the only one with energy.
Right.
So this is flexibility, exactly. So this kind of experience and all that we are working right now in Latin America maybe leave us to arrive to 2050 with a new vision of our energy, more flexibility, more availability of energy in different regions, in different cities. For example, in our cities, to be independent of the network, of the energy net.
The grid, yeah.
It's very useful in some regions.
Right.
In our Atlantic coast, all the new real estate developments are looking for to be independent of the net because it's not efficient, because it's not confidence. They have a lot of cost of energy, etc. So this is the case of a lot of regions in Latin America. So it will be a solution, not only for technology and not only for reduce gas emission, but it's for disponibility of energy. We need that. We need some solution, distributed solution for some, not only in rural areas, but in urban areas.
And I think it was Gabriel, thank you, Christina. I think Gabriel mentioned sort of the circular economy at a local level, right? Sort of understanding, what's available, what makes sense. And we heard that theme from our first panel. Closing thought, Werner, on, what does district energy look like in Germany or perhaps Europe or globally in 2050?
Actually, we're working on that at our heating site or heating business in Germany will be from now 13% district heating. We will hope to reach 30 to 35% district heating, because we have to change from gas-fired boilers in the houses because of, our problem with the gas at the moment.
Supply, yeah.
Exactly. So we have to change very fast, but as we heard in the first panel, we have to think in longer terms, because district heating is not a business from today to tomorrow. Yes. We have to erect power plants, we have to also put in pipes for district heating and so on. So it will take time, but I think we will reach our 30 to 35% district heating in the next couple of years.
So these are long life assets, right?
Yeah.
You can't think in even generational terms.
No.
And Ahmad, you mentioned that the Dubai Supreme Energy Council has really put a marker out for you, which is, double, double your capacity. Is the supply chain available? I mean, is that possible? You've done the impossible. Can you do it again?
Yes, it is always. I love always to set the bar high. If you set the bar high, you'll reach. Strongly believe on three things. On human being, I always look at developing a UAE national or non-national also, because this industry deserves that we sacrifice a little bit and spend more time in developing people for the sake of the industry itself. District cooling, it's an education which need to be added into the curriculum of the university, where we can push for it and make it, because it will create a career path for the full industry. Because today it's a mechanical engineer. He comes to you with his full mechanical understanding. But if we have something specifically for district cooling, that's really help. Number two, I strongly believe on technology. It will keep evolving. We will reach to the goal that we want. Everybody in this room, whether a consultant, suppliers, chiller manufacturer, they are aiming to cope with the transformation that's happening in the entire world, and they are producing their best possible chillers that they can or products that they have. Definitely, we will not do the plant room what we used to build. It will be different. Right. For example, one of my plant room built 4 or 5 years ago, free man. It's completely automated. I'm telling my operational team, guys, what can we do more? We need to build some new horizon in the industry. It is the driver for the future. Right. And I'm strongly seeing district cooling in 2030 completely than the district cooling today. Yes, we will still have the chillers and everything, but it might be more efficient. For example, in our part of the world, the water is very precious. This bottle of water in the Middle East, it is more expensive than the gasoline. Keep in mind, if you put the same quantity, it's more expensive.
Gasoline in the Middle East.
Yes. Absolutely. In the Middle East, you see, where we are producing. But this is the reality. We don't subsidize. Our government, they don't subsidize. Whatever you pay in the US, we pay almost similar rate there. But what I'm saying, it's very important to us also to shift the using the portable water, because we are preserving it for the new generation and using the TSC, treated sewage effluent. It's very important. We are building the thermal storage tank. We used it, by the way, when the rain comes to Dubai in the month of April, we shut down the chillers. We use the thermal storage. There is no different tariff. It's a flat rate. But we are building for the future. We cannot build for yesterday. We build the thermal storage with the aim that when this industry mature, definitely the government will look in differentiating rates between day and nights. Right. So basically, we cannot ask them, please give us the privilege of different rates before we build. Now, most of our plant room, 87 or 88 plant room, having a thermal storage tank. So basically, when it comes, yes, there will be a benefit of shaving the peak load.
So you really already have the thermal batteries in place to prepare for the future.
Yes, absolutely.
And the first panel, and I did steal this from Carlisle, I'll admit it, aggregate, innovate, optimize. Joan, when you look at district energy, globally, but maybe lens on North America, where do you see the industry in 25 years?
I heard you ask that, and I was like, but I'm not a dreamer. Like, I hope there's dreamers out there, because some of us are a little pragmatic, and we can't get beyond what the real practical, but the AI, I mean, who only knows? Like I'm thinking as I was sitting here listening, you go in, you say, okay, I'm going to locate something here, and AI will tell you what's the solution, what are your conditions, what are your loads, things will be so automated, and hopefully it will be very simplified, and it won't be as cumbersome as it is right now. There's such a disconnect between all the different regulators and everything that we're seeing. Supply chain, hopefully supply chain will have gotten the right signals that that's not an issue we're talking about, right. Or we're working with solutions that don't have supply chain issues. But I think it's exciting. I hope I'm here in 25 years to see it all happen. But yeah,
I hope I'm not.
Yeah.
No, thanks, Joan. Yeah. I want to go to Gabrielle, and then we're going to close with Khalid. So I had a useful thought before it completely evaporated. But so in 25 years, no, Joan, I have seen the future in Dubai.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They have a control room where it's like Google Earth. You can click on a part of the city and see what the district cooling supply is. click on a building, you can see what the delta T is. You can click into the building, see what's happening at the fan coil.
Yeah.
They know what's happening in 1,500 customer locations before the customers do.
Yeah.
So AI is real and it's being deployed. And I think that might be where we're headed. Do you have that same sense, Gabrielle? Is that digitalization? I know that's a term we hear a lot. 25 years from now, what does the sector look like?
Well, I will be very quick because I think the audience is craving coffee. And so, yes, of course, we have also a very old friend of Euriton Power in the audience speaking about digitalization. So we know how much is important. Euriton Power, we have a dedicated working group on digitalization. To speak about the future of digital appliances for district heating and cooling. And of course, data management and predictable tool and so on will support a lot optimization efficiency in networks, also because, of course, we need to lower the temperature, harvesting very low-grade heat, and this need optimization really on the decimal. So I think it's really important, and a future district heating will be absolutely digitalized. I'm not an expert in digitalization, so I won't go into the technicalities, but I want to be really pragmatic on the future of district heating and cooling, because of course our aim is to have 20% by 2030 in the European market and 50% in the 2050. Wow. This is according to the study. But of course, we can put all the target, the decarbonization, emission targets, reduction we want on, but they can remain on paper. So according to our recent studies, we need 144 billion of euro just to realize this scenario. So we need to attract more private investment, and we need to translate these targets in a supportive policy for investor with real financial support on the risking and grants for municipalities. And that's it. So I will shut up now.
What's 144 billion among friends? I mean, Bernard, you had a thought, and then I'm going to go to Khalid. Yes? A closing thought? 2050?
Well, I just wanted to add something. We're talking about AI.
Yes.
I think without the real people who know what they are doing, we will not reach anything. That's why we started 2 years ago at one of the universities in Germany to train people to become district heating engineers.
Yes.
Because we need the right people to develop this business.
Yes.
AI is nice.
Yeah.
But you also need people to do that.
Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT is really a pretty cool thing, but actually you need people that can process and understand and override when Hal won't open the bay door. That's my...
Please ask GPT, make me hate plan.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And by the way, here's an A+ in, yeah. Khalid, a final thought from you before we close.
Well, I usually can't help but bringing fun facts, since Ahmed spoke about the price of water as opposed to oil. So 1 barrel of oil is about 42 gallons, and that's about $82 these days. Okay. And 42 gallons of Perrier water is about $140, $130. So you're better off selling Perrier. Yep. Wow. Work the math. It's about 0.5 liter of a bottle.
You guys better sell water than the oil.
Yeah. Right. All right. On a final thought, I guess, since you picked up 2050, yes. I think that's the number that everybody's striving for their zero carbon emissions and all that. Yes. We are in a race against global warming. Yes. And we are one of the major players against global warming because we're energy companies, represent energy companies. IDEA is a platform. So driving technology, bringing down the energy, the kilowatts per heating, per cooling. So the onus is on us actually to come up with a solution by 2050 so we hit that number, because this is a race. Global warming is going up this way. We have to counteract in order for that 1 degree, 1.5 degree, God forbid, happens in by 2050. So that's, I think, the main message to take away from this panel for all of us as professionals, both ladies and gentlemen, to see, okay, how can we drive this, our technology, our business, with the policymakers to reach that goal.
Thank you. I think that was a wonderful closing thought. It really does sort of set us up for a few days together. Please join me in thanking our panel for sharing and being available and really sharing their experience and thought. Let's give them a nice round of applause, if you would. Well done, ladies and gentlemen.